Yeah, I think MNM is looking at these map bans, and they were like, all right, bank, yeah, that one might be a little bit tricky. After they won it, instantly the bank, by the way, came through from them. So a little bit of that trash talk, you know, to get the mental game going their way. But after that, you know, they won Cafe, it's 2-0. Suddenly there's 3 maps left now, and you only need to win a singular one. That is the current situation MNM find themselves in here, and that is what they will try and utilize. And of course, they'd rather do it now than in map number 5. But Cowana also noticed the pressure is on, and as the bug gets removed by MNM, that is a very targeted kind of ban. So that's a play style they do not want to face here.
It's not the most often removal. You see it. And it's the weird state of Buck where there was once upon a time he was everywhere. Because he had grenades and he did everything. And then suddenly...
I used to main him back then. I mean, shocking to open up walls. You got a great C8 gun. The recoil was a little bit high, but you learned to play with that. And the grenades to cover stuff up. I mean, it was every solo queue player's dream in that case.
But then, and that's a fair removal from Cowana, but then the difference that we saw was everybody moved away from Buck. Nobody wanted to be Buck because he didn't have the grenades, apart from about 3 or 4 players in the Tier 1 scene. And the notable one from EU was Gorgona, was this sort of young upstart that's just come into promotion and was really just terrorizing and tearing through because of the pace. He cited it as being able to swap between that opener and the gun. People were very often taken by surprise.
That's it, right? And even the skeleton key, if used in the right hands, is great for anti-personnel. The amount of times we've seen it being used, and don't forget Onigiri, for example, in APAC, he also used to play a lot of that skeleton key here and there, just picking up the kills as we went on going. That is what truly made Buck terrifying to some extent. But that is not why his pick rate skyrocketed again. It's due to the fact that he got those heart breach gadgets, which sort of turns him into a one-man army again, as he can now open up hatches, which, surprise, on Clubhouse, are quite important to open up, especially for the basement hole that Cowana choose to go for first.
To the top, we find ourselves reinforcing, but that is not the site, obviously. It is Clubhouse. You have your tall extensions, you have your explorations all the way around the map, and Cavana's going to see if they can put a full stretch and cause a runaround from the site of MNM. MNM, they know what they're doing. Everybody does. The fact that we have the Maverick on the board means that we're going to have the consistent double hard breach. It is the standard approach here. It's nothing too spicy. The Buck removal is going to cause some problems, but that's not really going to be on the MNM side approach.
All right, 7 more rounds is all that separates MNM from the Six Invitational 2022. It starts off quite well here, with Solotov being shot from the flank and being able to somehow still land the kill. He was starting Grizzly, who unfortunately for MNM will be able to land that trade, and well, as a result, we will be in that 4-on-4 situation. The boost came a little bit too late there to boost him up ever so slightly more. However, he did still take care of Gorgona. It's one of the roamers that has been taken care of Cowana.
They're still setting themselves up with some reinforcements onto the site itself. You look at the cost that's come through, and it's a Sledge versus a Mozzie. You would say that the Sledge is going to be the slight bigger impact here. The Mozzie tried to find an engagement quite early on, and I guess hoped that somebody else would potentially be the step-in, but it's sort of synonymous with how Gorgona's day has gone. He hasn't been able to have the same impact that he had yesterday, where he was the standout player for Cowana, and those frustrations, I think, are building into these engagements, where ever since Bank, where he was taking them, he's not been able to make the clean getaways that he was so consistently popping off yesterday.
As the Mute Jammers are being destroyed here by Tyrant to allow the drones to escape from their virtual captivity there. You know, looking to open up these hatches, but is afraid of the fact that someone might still be around on the main stairs, and just quickly checks the position of his drone. Tyrant ready near the new blue area to descend these stairs, but as well put up some pressure onto the player inside of blue. Wanting and hoping to put up some damage here. This is the default drone spot you're seeing there, and a Sloth gets spotted out to the Gon 6 that gets shot in to deal with some utility that had been placed down, a Banshee of Grizzly. And with that, 55 seconds left on the clock. MNM is quite slow on their approach, you could actually say, considering that after the early trade, everybody fell back to the side, and only now the hatches are starting to be opened up.
That's it. Blue's going to start to get bombarded, but nobody's back behind the big utility box. Instead, it's just going to be a little bit of, well, hotter air. It's suddenly getting a bit cooler as they're still trying to find a way through. The breakdown is going to start to occur here onto the standard church take as Pipes has taken over control, and they're looking towards the back line, hoping that somebody goes for a swing. More grenades, flashes and burns around the corner with 20 seconds, a hot drop on Moto, but Nello tucks himself in, ducks down, gets dropped. There's the pop-up of one on the opposite side. It's suddenly all over the shop, and Benja is all that's left round the back, but this could be the most important frag. They seem to have an idea, though. It's a pop and a pre-fire. The angle's watched. It's round on Moto. And it is MNM to lead in with the first round.
I'm so confused. I believe they thought they picked up Nello. He picked up the thermite, but it was actually a teammate that jumped right in front of the bullets there. Like, get down, Mr. President. That kill got picked up. They thought it was safe, and then suddenly Nello is still right behind the bar. And is going to be able to finish that kill and get the plant from happening. And MNM started off strong. 6 more rounds between them and the Six Invitational. We're starting to count down here as Jim and Bedroom is up next. They win their first attack here, but you mentioned it before, the only map to truly be defense-sided in the European League is going to be Cafe. We just had that one, and that means that the attack is expected to get 3 rounds here at least on a map like Clubhouse. The first one on the board for MNM. They need to find 2 more to reach the status quo, and after that, everything is a bonus. But still 5 rounds to play here, so plenty of time for them to do so.
They're not going to double it down. They're not going to see if they can run it back. Instead, they're going to see if they can go for an extension here into Jim. And when we had the game played by MNM here yesterday, this was actually one of the places where Vitality were able to put some ground back in. They responded by retaking. They were swinging aggressively into MNM and sort of meeting some fire with fire. And you're kind of looking at Cowana right now and wanting a little bit of the same, because at the time we complimented Vitality's play on that by saying it was sort of what Cowana were doing. But here, Cowana have just seemed to sort of gear behind MNM all game.
Yeah, they definitely have been indeed. MNM starting to speed up yet once more. We're talking about fatigue, but nothing seems to indicate that for MNM so far. Everything's still looking pretty good. No big flaws coming through, no sloppy mistakes so far at least. Everything is running as it should. Maybe the best of play beforehand really warmed them up for it, of course, whilst it was also an elimination match. If they would have lost that one, it would have been over, but for now, it functions in 2 different ways. Their qualification for this game and the warm-up at the very same time as Yuzu's on that top floor supporting Nello to go for the opening here, but the Jammer is still out there. Quick use of the blowtorch should be helping them to get rid of it, but Nello kind of struggles to find it. Eventually does get it, however, and that means the most important opening has been made. Actually, not, because it's Jim, but...
Yeah, easy to fight. Yeah, it's still important as they need to try and get control of a room that's actually sort of being handed over to them. Cowana don't want to see if they can try and keep it locked in. They don't trust the fight, and they're saying, well, we still have some reinforcements and defenses on the door. Sloth has a Goyo shield to swing over the top, and Solotov has a slow and steady approach. The Valkyrie was a really big bit of intel that worked against MNM here before, and this time obviously removed on the board from the side of Cowana, to be fair, but it still gives MNM a little bit more safety on something that almost bit them every single round.
Flashbangs being tossed in the meantime, they want to get rid of the shield right behind the construction area, and as they open up right now, an impact is just too late. Sloth forced away, the shield now useless, but the C4 comes through, picks up Nello before Benja gets traded out by Tyrant. The diffuser might be down, but it will be able to recover that one and push towards the site. Big thing though, Jacuzzi wall will stay closed. Their push needs to be coming in from a Logi and construction side dual push. Solotov will be playing a key role in there. He has that hammer. He needs to open up the soft flooring as Neo will be making his way over to the highway.
Look at Yuzus underneath though. He has grenades and he's going to see if he can try and catch those players inside, cause some problems. Neither connects unfortunately, but Gorgona definitely does, and Tyrant finally finds that grenade that fits that sweet spot post-mortem, and well, it's going to be the one that might lead into some more success here. Gorgona still unfortunately continually traded for the player. Anarchic suffers as he slips on by, and then suffers more. Wanted to lean back into the fight and trusted the tracers, but Yuzus just kept a finger on the trigger behind the gym gear, hit the body that pops up, but he's long gone. And now it's Sloth, finds the diffuser carrier, almost finds a second, swings and sprays, and Solotov gets a connection, and MNM get a second round.
He did the best he could right there. He managed to pick up 3 kills, and the ha-has are coming out. It is quite funny, to be fair. 3 people just pre-firing that one spot, and it took the last one to actually get that kill. MNM, 2 rounds in, 5 away currently for their spot at SI. Cowana, they need to start putting up these defensive rounds now. As the time and the opportunity is starting to slim more and more. CCTV Cash will be up next. They once again will not be going for a rerun there, even though it did get quite close, more so due to Sloth being able to pick up that double kill from the same position rather than the game and the strategy working out for the side of Cowana. The openings were there. The construction was flushed out. The player that came through, as well as the repeat from Anarchic that eventually led to his death, are putting MNM on that 2-0 up right now. And you see in the replay right here, I mean, they did get the drone, they did find out someone snuck in right after that, but as Anarchic gets pushed, he decided to go for a repeat on that window. And then the drone came through to know exactly where he was. Sloth as well, the pre-fire just with the L85 there. All these things leading to an MNM round win. After they're already 2-0 up in maps, they're also 2-0 up right now in rounds here on their attack.
It's a little bit tricky right now for Cowana, a little bit tricky, because although we expect this to still be a bit of back and forth on Club, as it sits in the new meta, usually the success is found on one of the other 2 sites. CCTV has massively fallen out of favor across these teams, and if it's becoming this sort of last dash Hail Mary, you gotta hope that for Cowana it connects. We cannot really have on their side 3 rounds slipping away from them. It puts so much pressure on the second half of their defense. They're waiting for the Chancer to hop out on a jump. Nello's just gonna sit and hold on with Solotov, having some curiosities paid towards the bottom of the garage door, but Cowana aren't quite sure where they want to go. There's a bit of a break and explosion. The Nitro doesn't quite get the connection, but it sure does remove those bandit charges, and Neo's free to keep on burning through.
Actually opens up a little bit more here as well. Second Nitro is about to be used, but the grenades gets pulled back just to at least let them know, hey, we are watching currently. Mind your step, because that grenade will hit you as well. And this is a very smart call from Solotov. He's holding this window right here because that's exactly where the rotation came from. If he's going to be able to pick up the player as they try and go for a Nitro yet once more, that should be the success, but the foot gets shot out by Sloth and Neo loses his life. That is going to be the wall that just remains closed barely, and then you're looking over at it and you see Nello is the other one with the heart breach available, but with the extra hole that's out there, it's going to be quite dangerous for him to actually put the exothermic down.
Unfortunate there, he was so close, but it's that sort of arm's length safety you gotta stay with, and unfortunately it means you pick up and you head elsewhere. Tyrant, he's knocking on the door of construction, but doesn't want to do it alone. Waits for a little bit more of an extension and rotation to be opened by Solotov on the sledge. They're still pinging out utility, and they still have some time to try and piece together at least a kill here inside the site. They slip away. Nobody's now in that back corner, but Solotov doesn't quite have the catch on the fact that Sloth is no longer home. Instead, at the top of Red, they're trying to set themselves up for this Bastion, and it is such an important power point to keep a hold on this site.
All they need to do is just run in deep as Nello starts to open up the wall. This is going to be a big help for them. Manage to cross the wall. If they manage to cross the door, they can get a plant in, especially with Tyrant giving some support from the bottom floor. The drone is coming out right here to try and figure out, is the site safe? Yes, indeed it is. There's 2 players around Red. There's one that is still playing below. Nello, if you make the run for it and you make it happen, you get the opportunity to go for the plant. There is a member in the garage. The flashbangs are starting to come out right here. Sloth takes a small amount of damage. He needs to make this run. He needs to go for it at some point, but with 30 seconds left, the times are starting to shift as Benja is going to be picked up first on the side of Cowana.
Well, they have 2 places to swing on Solotov, but the riskiest is over the top of that garage walkway. It is such an ominous battlefield, and Sloth goes down, gets dropped, but so does Nello. And that's now the diffuser cold. They've got to see if they can screen themselves to try and get it picked back up, but the player is going to do a deep dive around the top of Red. There's 1, there's 2,
what a shot!
there's
What a
3 for Solotov! He's got to try and get this diffuser planted, but it's a 1 versus 1. Just out of time, out of luck, and almost out of blood. There it is. Grizzly is the one that secures it for Cowana, but only just.
Only barely. The planter almost did go down. They had a bulletproof cam up there. They knew, I think, roughly where the plant was going down at that moment, but Cowana barely hang on there. If there was only a little bit more passiveness coming out from the cover and MNM there, I'm not quite sure where the last player died, but that could have been a round win if that was still outside on the highway, for example, covering up that rotation backwards either way. Cowana got that one. They strike back just slightly. MNM are denied their third round in a row here. And with that, the momentum is starting to slow down just slightly. It's still there to some extent. It was a difficult side to approach, especially with Neo dropping. Cannot forget that. Very important kill. Without heading back towards that bottom floor, Cowana have one win up their belts, and they almost managed to make it stick right here.
Oh, it was just fed and fed.
Nitro as well.
Really, it was the Nitro as well that came through, stopped the diffuser, and as you said, they needed to make a move. Nello did, but with the place and the positioning, you realize the butterfly effect that happened throughout the round, how important not getting open the CC wall becomes is it allows free movement, and free movement is one that, well, on CC, when they can drive themselves back into your approach, when they can still sort of keep that territory hot and dangerous, they have these corners, they have the places Grizzly was able to play in, that leads to the success. You don't need to push there, but you definitely need a presence to make things uncomfortable.
It is not just that, right? But it's the frame movement that gets denied. It's the scare that comes with that wall being open and someone potentially playing there. But also Neo being picked up, the extra gun that could have been the deciding factor in the end. Imagine if he opened it up and he just stayed on that balcony the entire round. And it was not going to be that way for, I believe it was Sloth, to jump back over and get that clutch in the end. And all these small things, you just said it, the butterfly effect. One small wrong clap of the wings and the whole round changes to this extent. Now, we are back into that basement. There is going to be a limited kind of roam on the side of Cowana, limited with their playing on the main stairs, but that is literally about it. Ready to fall back and turtle in whenever they want. As well as Gorgona, who just fell back from the top of the new blue area. It is Cowana that is locking themselves in. The two Mew Jammers will be key. Those are there to stop any extra thermic charge from going off, because they do not want that triple wall to open up again. Now, there is an easy way around that. Is just get that grenade in, or use the Maverick Torch to open up right below and try and take one out. But that exposes you towards the back of the armory, where there is that tight angle they could use to try and contest you as you try and achieve these goals.
Minute 30 gone, and with half the time left, they're going to see if they can start putting the pressure onto the site itself. To be fair, that is generally how this goes. You've got to get some clarity over the top two floors, especially when you have a scent of somebody up there before. They had that, they stopped it, squanted it out, and now seeing if they can get inside the site. A slightly different play, though, here from Cowana. They're waiting and hoping that they can bait it out. In fact, removing the claw gives the idea of a presence, but they know that they're going to burn it through, so may as well get rid of it. May as well get rid of yourself as well. It's only really a matter of time before that becomes a danger, and although you got a C4, you just don't want to risk that as an early pickoff.
Electric Claw will be used to protect the triple wall more so, instead of just the Mew Jammers, and well, that basically will force the use of a fragmentation grenade to get rid of those pieces of utility to start opening up with an extra thermic charge. The back of the armory not really being contested, not really being used by any of the members on the side of Cowana, and as the kitchen hatch will open up, that might actually come to haunt them in the end there, because Nello has an opportunity now to start heading for a drop. Anarchic is the true problem here in the back of the dirt tunnel, as Solotov does take out Sloth from a very tight angle there. It's a grenade that now comes in quite close as well. Nello digs in deep. Foot gets spotted out, however the cover is there, trying to make sure that the plant cannot be cancelled out. It will continue, however, no, it gets cancelled. It's only Tyrant left now with a 1-on-3 situation, 10 seconds left, and Cowana are looking to make it up to an equal scoreline, push it up to 2-2, and make sure that MNM is not allowed to thrive any further here on Clubhouse Attacks.
A very important kill there from Gorgona, but it wasn't the one that stopped the planter. It was the fight on the hatch itself. If that had gone away from them, then that is a confirmed plant on the ground. There was no one else in a position to try and push their way through. They were able to retake verticality just on that fight alone, and suddenly it gives you the hope, and he kept on moving. He drove himself further and further, pushed himself to the back wall, and that allowed them that excitement that led into some success 2-2. And suddenly this isn't as even-handed as it started to look there. We're getting a little bit more from Cowana. They took those essences, those embers from that round that they took just before, and they've turned it into a little bit more of a fire. It's not a burning torch yet to lead the way to the end of victory, but at least it's something in the darkness that came before.
Again, MNM is just looking for an extra round here in these next two will suffice to the 3 that we expect them to get on their opening half. Of course, they, I believe they chose the side that they wanted to start on, as this was the map pick of cowana, if I'm not mistaken. That shows that they have the trust and faith in their attacking side. Overall, it has been proven to be quite successful. Just a small hiccup in round number 3, and well, round number 4 being a little bit more difficult as the cover wasn't truly there from the hatch, or at least the gunfight that was important was not being won. Otherwise, that plan would have gone down. Leaves us in this situation now where cowana, after 2 slight mistakes, you can say, have been able to bring it back to equal scoreline. And that shows you how important it is to play perfectly. Neo not really being in the right position to try and cover. First of all, no one on the rappel to try and cover off Sloth, who was trying to shoot at the feet of Neo. That is something that came back to haunt them the previous time they attacked CCTV Cache. This time around, back towards the gym. Sloth played on a key position where he was able to pick 2, almost 3 kills. Question is he going to be able to do so again, or is cowana going to be able to stop the side of MNM earlier this time around?
Well, Sloth suffered a bit of an explosion there on the shield. They've put a bit more of a direct line through. I'm wondering, it's probably a grenade through that top window there that just bounced towards the side of building construction. Oh. That didn't need to bounce. It landed perfectly where it needed to be. Solotov removed from Benja, who has been that consistent thorn so far. Hasn't quite been as big as they were the other day, but as long as they keep doing those little impact kills, they can lead up to a delicious recipe of destruction. cowana, he's on the roam, deep underneath as Tyrant goes for a bit of a slip through. They had an idea, an impression of some danger, but without the confirmation of where he is, it means that Tyrant is never truly safe, and he's going to have to do a little bit more work on his own back.
For sure, not in the right position at the right time there to stop that Nitro cell from truly being as impactful as it was. Because this is normally what we see Tyrant play. Below or on the flank and stuff like that. He's often just making sure that the flanks are being held or at least covered off, and any lurking players with Nitros would be caught. Fortunately, failed in that task this time around. Led to an early loss of Solotov, but again, nothing is lost yet. They're opening up the construction wall just soon. Tyrant has joined the rest of the forces here in the side of the construction. He's looking to find a way in, is wanting to challenge an Arctic right here in Logi, because that is exactly what they would need, in a case like this. Grenade being bounced close, takes care of a shield on top of the bed, and this does actually provide for an opportunity to go for a plant sooner rather than later, because if they do manage to dig right behind the mattress, there's not much that can stop them there.
They haven't been able to find a player yet. And that's a bit of a danger, because the longer that goes on, the more risks you got to take, like this. cowana is heavily watching this hatch from underneath, just has to try and bite through, so Users takes a different option. Drives into the site, but you assume a swing round is going to come sooner rather than later. They're stopped. Locked in and waiting. This could be a massive surprise bout here. They've gotten much deeper than they think. There's one, a very important take, because suddenly the call is there inside. They've been able to slip past cowana underneath. The second gives a bit of a reveal, but it's Nello to lock down an Arctic and drive that diffuser deeper into the site itself. They have some cover, some protection, but cowana's still underneath. They're trying to force a little bit more further as Nello just wants a little bit more security. Neo finds a fight. There's the quick pickup. Grizzly around the corner. And C4 gets shot out. It gets dropped, and Nello is now going to finally stick it, but Sloth shows up from logistics. It was a bit scrappy. Nobody was entirely sure anybody was. But Sloth ended in the right place at the right time.
It was very scrappy, very sloppy there in the end, because we had one playing around the bathroom. We had Sloth moving up the main stairs, heading somehow into the logistics where he was able to find that very final kill. And now I'm wondering, wasn't it the better call to have gone for a plant inside of the gym with the presence you at that moment still had down outside on the balcony? You could have just been watching that instead. Of course, it's some soft flooring, it is some destruction out there, but cowana now have taken the lead. It's 3-2. And some small minor errors on the side of MNM and some indecisiveness in that final few seconds of that side of that attack are starting to pop up. And is this going to be the moment where cowana can actually turn around this matchup here? Of course, still 2 maps advantage to MNM. It is just a singular round. cowana has over them at this very moment. We just said it. We're expecting MNM to get 3 rounds here. That's the goal for them, given the statistics at the European League.
Well, cowana, if they want to have a little bit more pressure to have in their pockets, it's got to be a 4-2, I think, for their split at this moment in time, just because obviously the split we had previously on Cafe where they let in didn't quite go into their favor. They weren't quite able to secure some of the consistency against MNM's attack. As soon as they were put under the pressure of their defense, things started to fall apart. But also, in fairness, so far they've been able to match their performance on the previous map. This is one that they did choose. They did want to come here. They know it a little bit better. They're more confident here than Cafe. I still think they need to just take a little bit more control because it's getting better and better. But they need to start putting some nails in.
Definitely need to. Opens are starting to be made. Yeah, once more, Solotov is starting and getting ready to, well, help Neo open up. Big thing here is Neo going to get some support this time around from a repel, as you don't really want to lose your life as a result. Is that 2 of my discs out? No, it's just a single one. It's the 2 lines, of course. But they're starting to open up, and the grenade is potentially supposed to be tossed through, or it's just the top anchor point they have so far. The wonder I'm having, they have it. That's the support I was asking for. They need to make sure that someone is watching and someone is going to be able to pick up Sloth. If he is going to try and go for some support, you can shoot. That's him right there. He's out there going for the cover. It's going to be a kill on the side of Gorgon. I'm not quite sure where that came from. It's Tyrant from below, and that's the first on the side of MNM.
He didn't quite have the clarity of mind to know that there was a player out, and to be fair, Sloth knew because of the big animations coming through and just hucked some impacts to try and take care of it, and it did damage, but didn't get the lock off, and that's causing some problems later on. As I said, this was quite often the site that's fallen out of favor because it becomes one where the attackers has gotten more and more successful as time goes on. cowana have gotten off to the worst start they've had in a handful of rounds, and here it's just the difference of what can be made now. You've lost that big wall. There's a bit of a restructure. They still have Grizzly in the position where he played off the Tour de Force round win before, but Benja, he's gone for a much wider approach here. He's pre-firing, gives a bit of a game away, but doesn't quite get the angle that could have been a huge strike. And that gives this call, well, we know one's up there.
Grizzly also knows his point is the next pressure point as Benja finally does get the kill, supports his teammate out there on the Raptors by taking down Neo, and as he's inside of the construction area right now, he is crucial for his survivability. But Tyrant in the meantime on stock is looking like he might be coming up soon as well. Benja gets yet another kill. That's going to be the important kill. However, it's going to be the smoke canister gets sniped out as well. They know one is going to be inside of the construction to try and rotate back, but that's already long gone. Benja comes up these stairs. They need to go for a plant, and as the smoke canister is dealing quite a bit of damage, it's only up to Benja Master right now. He gets stacked, moves on to the right, gets yet another kill. It's a triple kill. The ace clutch needs to come through if they want to get this. The plant also needs to come in as he misses actually the jump in on the window. The plant now slowly taking place. Users just needs to get some cover. The free fire comes through. A small bit of damage is being done, but it's not going to be quite enough yet to get that kill. Flashbangs keep on raining in. Benja is going to be completely blind, and that will waste some seconds here, but he needs to find 2 more kills. One near the garage, one on side of the balcony, gets some damage done on one, but Nello finishes him off right after. And as a result, it is MNM that will still find their 3rd attacking round like we expected them to. So at least they salvaged this half.
3-3. 3-3, and the round comes down, and I think, as I said, this might be more important than it seems, because an even half is traditional at the minute. It's the standard club approach. There is some preference for attack, but there's some preference for attack, and we just saw on the previous map that when they led in with this even half before, it was when cowana were put on their defenses that they just seemed to lose a handle on MNM that came in with a little bit of ferocity, and well, I guess we're seeing if that's a slightly different story on the turn of the half now.
Yep.
Can we get from cowana's attack, I guess, something with a little bit more piece together? It was, what, when they were on Cafe on the second half, on their attack even, it was 2 plants and 2 diffusers. They just couldn't find that stability to take care of the final couple of roam players.
That's it. And a map like Clubhouse does aid a lot to roams to some extent. There is multiple staircases up. There's even a ladder all the way from the basement you can use an oil pit. And that does it does favor some of these players that are highly mobile. Tyrant, for example, who has been lurking around on the attack but has been so effective doing that, might be wanting to, you know, do the same on defense here. Just lurk around after he gets the opportunity to, after they know a push is coming a certain way. Go for a flank. We've seen users do it as well on Cafe. And if MNM times that right, they are going to be able to just destroy the hopes and dreams of cowana for any attack here on Clubhouse.
Neo with a little bit of a camp, a little bit of a wait, a little bit of a holdout in the approach that might come through here, but it's a bit of a steady break. It's a bit of waiting for cowana here, and cowana are doing this job that we talked about before, where you've still got to get a big handle across the big stretch, regardless of the information that you've got before. If there are players there, you have to make sure they're not going to come and haunt you later on. The problem that we saw on the previous map in the previous play before.
Now, 8 Excaras already been used to open up the wall. CCTV cache. Of course, a wall that is relatively useless. You just use it right now to come through. There's no one on the roam currently, so to some extent you can say a bit of wasted utility if you want to open up these hatches later on. Or if you want to go for the triple wall, for example. So cowana need to make sure that they make the best out of the rest of the utility they have. And Grizzly will be forced to open up probably 2 of these hatches to ensure that they at least have these Excaras left for potentially a hard one if they want to go for it. Solotov looking to go aggressive on the main stairs, gets spotted out by a drone and instantly followed up by a sledgehammer hammering from above. He's going to keep his life safe, rotates back right before the pressure hits. At least took out one of those drones. Just 6 remaining on the side of cowana right now, and a minute 20 on the board. They need to get these in position for their final push, wherever it might be, because it doesn't seem to be clear-cut. Yeah, the kitchen hatch still closed, motorcycle hatch still closed, only blue opening up right now, as I believe the rotation is coming around to open up kitchen as well.
They've been able to get themselves stacked here on the main door, and they're just going to see if they can try and finagle a little bit more ground.
They just used the electric claw right there as soon as it started opening up. There's my discs as well to stop the grenades from popping off. However, now they find it. I'm not sure if Nello has another one. No, he's used them both. So they will be opening up right here. There is still 2 impacts left on Tyrant. He might be rotating around to destroy it, but I doubt it. I think it will be a kitchen drop coming in very soon here, as that's one of the 2 hatches they have opened up.
They're going to see if they can try and pull out the bodies from the back of the box here. The grenade is just going to see if it can try and catch behind the AKs on the far side. Forces them to more uncomfortable situations, but no one's able to, I say, as they do, lock it off. Gorgona gets a drop and gets dropped in response. No, an R-kick was the other body hovering over the top with the diffuser there. They've got to try and throw themselves in. 10 seconds and an important pick on the backside of the site. But the diffuser falls down. It's all gone wrong, and there it is. Still trying to fight their way through the 1 versus 1. Just wait a couple seconds. Grizzly has to stick it. You've got to be in the right place. Popped up and locked off.
There you got it.
How many times has Tyrant taken it in a post-pla?
Exactly, just again this time around, and as they all started to drop their hatch, just a singular body coming down from blue, and all the other 4 trying to drop through the kitchen area. Oh, that one completely got picked apart by a player that was deep inside of the armory right there, and MNM on the back of that are able to take their very first defensive round. That will be a delight to them. That will be something that will help them quite a bit. And as we're heading towards the gym and the bedroom next, it is not going to be that CCTV site many might expect. But the frost will be coming through, and you already know how that's going to be used. There is going to be a rotation created towards logistics, which will be followed up, of course, by a frost mat that will, lay right underneath it, but also the 2 windows onto the direct side, just to stop them from putting the direct pressure onto the site without looking down first, or clearing out those frost mats by going for a dangerous upside down rappel, or by getting a grenade in, for example. So as Tyrant is getting those ready, still has that great gun afterwards to play with and to challenge with. Of course, again, low or high recoil, low fire rate makes it look like low recoil to some extent. Allows you to just really pin down on a certain doorway or angle so no one can really go through.
MNM, you've been able to pull this first one, you've been able to pull the first defense into your favor, and it's just seeing, I guess, what else could be built behind it, because to be fair, we've had a little bit of questions over the momentum of this game, and it's so important for Cowana right now to bring some stability. They have to match the pace, they have to match the play. As I cited before, what you see on this map generally is even. You see a little bit more success on attack in a handful of games.
Yep.
And we haven't really seen that from Cowana today. So if this second site goes away from them, if they find themselves losing 2 of the 3 rotations, it might spell some tricky situations here. Sloth making his way up from underneath Jim Hatch with a grenade. Great catch. Fantastic play and positioning to pinch out Tyrant.
All right, indeed. Nothing Tyrant could do there except for not being in that position. And I think that also 2 of the frost mats have actually been picked up by that frag grenade there. So actually, no, one still present. The other one did get picked up. So just a small worry less in that case. But as they see that the jacuzzi wall is being opened up and the drones are starting to float around as well, as the wall that has suddenly turned soft and can now be used to fire through. Of course, it is still a soft wall. It has not been opened up yet by soft destruction. The sledge needs to get in a position first to do so, but probably not really a priority at this given moment, as Sloth trying to take care of some extra utility from below. I'm not quite sure if he succeeded in taking the bulletproof. No, not yet.
Still
He's
there.
definitely getting very close.
It's close, but close is no
What is that
bulletproof
smoke?
gone. Yeah, that's a smoke. They maybe expected a little bit of quick movement with the grenade that came through underneath, but otherwise there's no presence there, and Sloth's keeping himself locked in. I think he was expecting maybe some reverse firefight to come through, but he's free to try and grenade out the remaining players. Uses almost caught on, but he's still a little bit safe. Yeah, as he said, he's on that part of concrete, and so is Nello on the far side. The canister stops at the top of the stairs. There's the approach that's really coming together here, and Sloth finds himself at a gate. Soon the gate will lift, and soon you can see the other bodies all littered around, ready to try and put the pressure onto Jim.
Another grenade being tossed in. This time a little bit of damage is being done towards Nello. Nitro is being tossed out as well, but not being that impactful as the actual push starts to happen under the course of an adrenaline surge. It is going to be the entry here of Sloth, the double entry to go for as well as he tries to get rid of the bulletproof cam. He's struggling with that more than he would like to. It's only up to Solitaire now, coming up on the stairs behind him, looking to stop this from happening. Gets the first. Anarchy gets off the plant, is looking to rotate into a safer position as the player is still outside, next to the gym. Machinery is going to be able to pick up yet another kill. Solitaire swings around the corner, but Gogona was ready to pick him up instead. The pistol not allowed to pick up yet another kill.
A very important take back there, and it's all driven by Sloth, a player who is starting to cook into the experience that this game requires. It needs a bit of that hit, that tenacity, to try and force yourself into and against the approaches that are otherwise being quite well put together. Cafe, we did not have that. Cafe, we sort of had these standout performances, but none of it was really the drive towards the site. Look at the movements that Sloth made there. The first take was through the hatch in a position where you sometimes see some countenance. Okay, but then he's sort of eyeing up the idea of I can get underneath. No, wait, we need an entry onto the site. Him as a name with that entry statistic, not only in the gun shed, but also in the firefight on the site, it has been sorely missed from Cowana today.
And don't forget, Tyrant on the post plan or a retake position is a combination you do not want to deal with currently. He's been in so many of them and basically won every single one of them. So taking him out first is definitely a welcome change for the side of Cowana, who now draws up 4-4. It is still 3 rounds away for MNM for them to reach the Six Invitational. Let's just start with 2 first, however, to lock themselves in for an overtime situation where I believe Cowana got the choice of side after MNM picked, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Cowana would have gone for an actual defense back-to-back.
Okay, MNM, as I said, this site is sometimes a little bit trepidatious, and the kite's been a pretty consistent fixture here for them. It wasn't really played at all against them on their approach. Solitaire almost suffered. But decides, well, I'm not going to try and risk that as the pressure mounts and gets closer and closer. They open the hatch for some chance at playing against the utility or the pressure that might come onto construction later on. It's still a 2-pronged approach regardless of how it ends, and Gorgona is cooked and taking care of its shield. There's nothing to stop that being destroyed.
And 2 PC utility have been taken out there, but the extra Electroclaw still in place, so gonna have to use the Maverick to start opening up. Grizzly already used some of that fuel elsewhere, potentially in the garage, but He's taking care of the anchor point right now. It will be a very quick opening. EP dart being used actually from the bulletproof cam. Not actually getting everything because nothing was placed in it. This Grizzly is just continuing to open up. He might have messed up just slightly, not quite sure. No, wall has been opened up. Takes a small bit of damage from the electric claw, but as his job is done, he will be falling off.
That's it. Does enough. There was nobody that was trying to play instantly against it, as we saw played by cowana. Instead, they're going to sort of let that fall and make sure they have their attention and focus paid elsewhere. Sloth stacked himself up on the door, and as I said, his role has become massively important in playing the entry, but Neo, far and away, is that going to be watched? Is that going to be waited for? You assume there is some idea in drones, and there it is, Anarchic. He's on that flank watch role, but hey, we've seen flank watch from cowana go away from them before in the guise of an Oryx on bank, and I guess they've got to be a little bit more tuned into it this time.
That's it, right? And if he starts flicking those cameras, and that's the exact timing Neo starts to move up, or if the side of cowana wants to go for an execute, all 5 guns will be active at that very moment. That's the opportunity that Neo needs to wait for. That's when he should be striking. As he will be spotted out now, but just to go to the basement, so they might be quite confused as Neo does come back just ever so slightly before he rotates all the way back, and probably will head towards blue to add himself to the side forces, with Grizzly being very far out here to hold a long angle to potentially support the diffuser.
Yeah, it's really far away, and we saw Solitov eye up the idea of going out and getting aggro, but here he is now fighting a more important fight on the window. Nello almost gets dropped on the top of red, and well, the grenade is what pushes him over the edge, but Tyrant going down in the meantime is only the fight back against Gorgona Sloth. As I said, he's the driving force, and he deep dives all the way to the back of sight, and suddenly it's just Usus and Neo left alive. The run out almost catches one, doesn't quite get the solidity, but it's caught on the way back in the room. Benja gets it. Neo on the swing back round. He's looking for a single body on the pop-up, but he does not find any. cowana, they're able to take the lead for the second time this game, and suddenly things are starting to look up for them.
It's starting to look good for them indeed. Just a single round and they find themselves in a at least OT secured position. But 2, and they managed to find the map to go their way, whereas MNM is looking to bring it back. A timeout will be called. 45 seconds should be on the board soon for the side of MNM. As they are going to have a quick chat. They need to discuss what is going wrong, what is going right, and how they are going to be able to get at least 2 more rounds at this half, at their defense. Because that secures them for OT. That puts them in a situation where they feel a little bit more comfortable, or at least are aware of the fact that they have that little bit of a security net underneath them. It is potentially their final map. cowana currently is looking for their first 3 rounds. Again, all that separates MNM and a trip to Sweden.
You had some tension.
Cue the epic SI music.
I know. You need the epic SI music. You need that sort of playing in the back of everything that you ever do here at this point, and they'll feel it. And I don't want to go as far to say as this is the first time we've seen cowana awake today, but it feels like the most awake that they've been consistently these rounds recently, even though it's not been the most that they've actually threaded together today. It's still cowana striking with the game that I think MNM were demanding from them. And MNM's starting to have these little missed sort of dates, these connections that aren't quite connecting the way that they would have potentially on the first 2 maps. It's a bit late in the water. Every map is the most important map that cowana has played in a while.
Yeah, and it continues to do so until they either win or lose. MNM started off right at your defense, got the very first round, but you gotta be honest with yourselves there. It was more so due to a lucky a series of events of a player being in the back of the armory that was able to down 2 and kill another, and Tyrant being at the right place at the right time to stop it, because another half a second and the gun would have been up and it would have been aiming at you at that moment in time. MNM need to be more careful on that, and you would say, okay, what about extra roaming in that case? But there is a specific setup you need to successfully pull that off. That's currently not what they're running. Neo, however, still on that top floor. I'm not quite sure if he's here to contest blue or stock, or if he's there to draw some of the attention to the potential or opportunity that there might be a roamer there. He's playing in launch right now, just maybe waiting to be droned out.
Well, so far, this is the only site that we've seen be a success on the defense for MNM, and if it isn't this time round, then they're putting themselves in a pretty precarious situation, and although this isn't their map, that changing of tides of momentum could be a big cost with all the games and maps that they've played today. They've already found themselves on a 6th map today, is it?
Yeah, this is their 6th map currently that they're playing.
That's
so
a lot of siege.
If they lose this one, it's going to be only worse from there on, because we do see some slight mistakes airing up in the MNM camp right now. I'm not saying that's the fatigue striking yet, but it could definitely be part of it. Because I just said it, it's the 6th map of full focus siege where you cannot afford a single mistake. I mean, you're bound to make some at some point. And cowana now pushing up quick is going to stop any potential rotation potential from the main stairs here as he opens up, and surely those angles will be watched ever so slightly. The default cam now out of play.
Well, again, at the same sort of benchmarks they had before, they're able to time themselves towards the minute 30. They can't stick around here too much, but Solotov is eyeing up the idea. He's sort of tracing it, and he's hoping he can get a bit of a sneaky catch on a Maverick that is still steadily burning through, but is aware enough to play some semblance of safety. Pulls back as the bullets start to pop and filter through the gaps, and Grizzly was always going to lie down, but cowana was the chance at the strike, and they didn't quite have that meeting of minds here. Attention is paid to the hatch once again. The claw is late, as it doesn't quite get the connection.
Oh, actually destroyed the claw, I think.
Yeah.
The X-Cars that went off. The second one's been tossed in, however, and that one should be in time to destroy these. Did they just throw in a nitro?
I think they may have.
Well,
Little mistakes.
little mistakes start adding up. It's Sloth with the very first kill here after the kitchen hatch has been opened up in an unfortunate series of events. There's going to be 2 drones left available, though, on the side of cowana. For these last 30 seconds, they need to hope that their grenades are on point, and as the first gets tossed in and won't be able to find any, they need to continue to gunplay instead.
Grizzly's trying to put pressure down on the main corridor of the site itself that separates, but look at this, the flood comes through onto Church, trade out, and suddenly it's a double, it's a triple stacked up. Here, MNM, they're able to strike through. Grizzly and Benja, the last 2 left, sort of caught adrift in the middle of the site. They've stacked themselves, the diffuser's been picked back up, and it's sprayed over. And MNM find a second bout of success here, and once again, we are tied.
Tied on 5-5, and after these small mistakes, I'm still not sure. He tossed in the Electroclone after that, he tossed a C4 after it. It's the same player who did it as well. It's the only C4 they had available to themselves, but I mean, small mistakes every now and then, I guess. MNM still managed to walk away with the round, but imagine that could have also gone the complete wrong direction afterwards. 5-5. 2 rounds counting down. Also 2 rounds left in regulation. Is MNM going to be taking it in regulation, or is it cowana that will do so?
CC Cash. CC Cash is where we go back round, and to be fair, the questions are now on MNM. Is 2 rounds separate you from being able to get yourself into SI, but these 2 rounds, these 2 sites that you've got to hold, regardless of what they are, it's either bar, which is an unknown, or it's 2 sites that you've lost over the past 3. So what can you bring that's a little bit different? What can you shake up? And most importantly, what can you take away from a cowana that, when they need to, have started to show some of those sparks of yesterday?
Now, MNM is a team that over the course of the tournament so far has proven to be an adaptable team. They have proven to learn from mistakes they made in the previous times they played certain sites. And as a result, they were able to win the one afterwards, so to say. So they've been here, they've lost it, but they know what went wrong, and after they did have, you know, a small talk altogether, surely there would be some input on what to do next, what to avoid doing as well, to ensure a bit more of a success factor on CCTV Cash.
They've got themselves stacked up with the full support over here. A bit of get out of here, I've got this, don't worry, and Solotov's off and away. They're still setting themselves up with the claws and the close walls. They're sort of waiting for the approach, and yep, cowana trying to throw grenades underneath. Doesn't quite get the catch. The other ones get caught out by Wamais elsewhere.
Yeah, they had a magnet actually ready to go, so they knew a grenade was being tossed out from the outside. But this time around, they put up some of that utility to catch it off. This time around, no grenade kill or damage being done. There's still going to be 4 left, however, on the side of Cowana. Plenty, actually, to work with. Scrap that. 6 left on the side of Cowana, which they will try and use to dig out these players of MNM with. And the use of the Wamai might actually come in quite clutch here for that matter.
The wall is going to get popped open once again with no immediate repercussions that's coming across, but we do have Cowana coming across. They set themselves up with a similar take as before. They know how they want to approach this, and they had the watch on the roam game as well, most importantly. Neo never really found that drone that we're aware of, and that might turn into a repeated problem here if they still have all of this locked down, they still have the control, but this time it's Solotov that is playing on that looser side of the Wamai here. Same drone, same game, same call, and a creep. They did find one, and at least Solotov has bought himself some of a life, because if he kept going up those stairs, he was only going to get dropped. But still, as time ticks away, it's working into Cavana's favor.
That drone might have actually saved his life indeed, or otherwise surely would have been picked up, as the Electric Claw and the Banshee now have been taken care of. Neo returns some fire with the LMG, hoping to slow them down as yet another grenade gets used. They're starting to slim out. The utility is starting to... Ooh, actually, the Electric Claw activated in time again to stop this plant from happening. They need to get another grenade actually in place. As Solotov does finally get found, however, they knew he was still downstairs. They went for the hunt. They managed to get it, and as a new grenade is being put into place, it bounces back and will set them back a couple of seconds.
That's it. They still have 2 grenades, but they have Benja who's going to try and charge up. An important kill for Usus, and he catches it at the right time. There's one that happens on side the site, and suddenly it's locked out with the big gun of Nello going burr behind the bomb chassis. One more dropped and round the corner, and he can't quite get the connection. The Maestro cam's giving all the calls they need, and with the pistol popped over the top, there is Usus underneath. They have maybe the eyes, maybe the idea of where it's being played and placed, but suddenly it's just Usus underneath. An Arctic with a handful of seconds and a C4. Where's the ping? Where's the call? You've got to get it thrown. You've got to get it connected. Unfortunately, that's not the corner. There's the drop. There's the first. 2 more, but one of them is headed right out to CCTV to keep a watch from outside. The other, I believe, went to rafters. They have the double story split. They have human awareness, and it only takes an Arctic a second to slide up that sling and get it. Goes for the first fight. Goes for the run out onto the second. But it was only really going to go that way. 6-5 to Cowana. One more round, and they secure themselves at least a map.
That's it, right? One more round, and they have that one map on the board, but it's also the start for a potential reverse sweep. MNM need to give it their all right now to force themselves to go to OT, to give themselves another shot of successfully doing so. And bar on stage will be the side that gets chosen to do it at. Question is, how successful will it be? Will they be able to take the win here? The Echo gets brought. That is often a small giveaway of the side that will be played, and it is more so how prepared is Cowana to play this side? How prepared are they to attack it? Because the other sides have gone quite well. This is just the only side we haven't seen yet, and MNM, they're going to be playing it. Have they found something new to do here? That is the question that we would like to ask.
Bar and stage. That's it. That's the something new. That's the hold that might be the one that at least brings them to OT. They're still fighting for the chance of obviously locking it out on the 3rd map. They have other chances, but how well are those chances going to play into their favor? You hit that tipping point. You hit that balance of it's either going to be another 20 minutes of siege or it's going to be another hour and 20 minutes. It is a big blow. It's a big sort of mental slog to get yourself stacked up and prepped for another map. And Oregon and Villa, they sure are hefty playing fields, but Oregon can be a bit spicy. And if Cowana are the team that's coming into that with the energy to attack onto that Oregon and play around the space it offers, it's just a risk that they kind of want to secure here on Club.
Definitely want to secure it here. MNM need to give it a roll again. I'm going to say it to reach the OT here. Some small mistakes being made here and there, and as there is going to be a white ping here, it's actually the pre-fire that comes through. It's the injure as well, but the question is, are they aware of it on the side of Cowana? A drone is being tossed in to go for some support. There is the confirmation that an injure is indeed there, but as he's slowly starting to creep towards safety, it is going to be Gogona that tries to hunt and potentially tosses in a grenade to do so. Instead, it's Sloth that gets another kill. Tyrant will drop, and we're headed towards a map number 4. If we continue on like this, as Sloth is going to surely confirm Solotov, who's about to run out of blood.
I mean, there's still pings coming through. He's got somewhere, but even the people that could save him are steadily being locked off and secured at this point, so it was never really going to be in his best situation. They've lost 2 of their loose players. They've lost 2 of the big gunners, and that leaves now the site hold to try and come together. Benja, he's putting some pressure onto the site itself over the bedroom. The shield gets popped, and Neo gets caught too. Usus is the next to fall, and bit by bit, thread by thread, MNM are being pulled apart here. Nello is the only one left, and he was an Echo playing far off site, so suddenly he's got to try and get his way back up, but almost entirely caught out by the player outside. He's not going to be able to get the pick up there. They know where he is, and they know that there's several different locations for them to try and put and pop pressure back onto him. It's got to be an ace clutch at this point. Neo is down and out, and they're going to spend this time droning and I guess setting themselves up for any chance in the flank here. Sure, he has the pocket echo, but really, there's so much else above him. You do not see an easy route through here.
There's the confirmation there, 60 seconds left on the clock, a 1v4 situation. Nello is going to be able to deal a little bit of damage towards Benja, goes aggressive right here, but didn't see him proned out, and Cowana are able to take a map away from MNM, and it will force us to go towards a map number 4, where hopefully for them, they're going to be able to at least put another step towards the reverse sweep, as MNM, well, they're starting to make some slight mistakes here and there, which is never a good sign this late on the day.
It is that ominous question now, is what we saw